Hey, Natsu here. Today I'm going to do what if they my part 4 of what if Deku had a leveling system. I just realized by talking to someone in the comments that I never stated something that I should have said the moment I said that he was in another world. But the place he is in, the world is about 32 times bigger than our own world. So it is he is basically in a world where, well, firstly, there's more gravity in that place, but he doesn't feel it because, well, he was born there. The body he got was basically made to live in that. Um, his so yeah, the planet, the world is 32 times bigger, which means that it is extremely, well, the amount of the time it would take for a human to basically walk across the entire world if he went from one side and just wanted to come back on to the same place walking straight forward would take multiple years. And that's if, like, let's say everything was exactly the same height, that the water was basically with a path on it where you could walk all the way from one side to the other without any problem, and if you constantly walk. So this world is a lot bigger. 32 times bigger basically means that with the way, even if Deku just walks normally without stopping, it would take at least over 100 years, and he basically doesn't go in a straight line. He um, basically just try to make new lives, stuff like that. So he will probably, well, no, he will not see any of his kid again for now. Like the kids he left after his first life when he left the castle, he will never see them again. They knew it, but still. Because someone asked me if he was going to see them again, which will not happen exactly for that reason. Because he's just trying to go everywhere to try and find a way back to his own world. Even though he doesn't even know if, well, actually he just thinks that both worlds are going the exact same speed. So he just wants to go back there no matter how long it takes him, even though for his world it's like Ben. Wait, he's 191, so it's almost been 2 full days. Almost. While for him, he's sure that his mom, Bakugo, and everyone else basically died already. So, yeah. The last time he left the kingdom on the island, basically continuing to go um, at sea, he is level 560. So, yeah. He can fly if he wants, but he took a boat with a lot of food on it, and with basically his storage, he has a lot of it. Um, okay, yeah, so while starting the journey, he decided to just go toward a certain place because on the island he heard that in that place there is underwater ruins, but around that place there's a lot of wormhole, big ones as well. Having the power of a water dragon slayer, he can breathe underwater, because I'm guessing a water dragon lives underwater, so if he goes dragon force of that, he could basically stay underwater breathing. So if it doesn't work like that, well, yeah, I'm just going to put it since it's not even the same world as Fairy Tail, so might as well just change a bit that power. So he just decided to go there to check, since ruins, in those they can have legends and stuff like that, and he learned basically almost every um, language. He can read, write, talk in almost every language there is on that. Well, that he was able to read about until now. Um, so yeah, there's a lot that he doesn't know still about that world, because like I said, 32 times bigger. And by that I don't just mean like, oh, take the earth and do 32 times the mass. I'm talking the diameter is 32 times bigger than that of our planet. So it's really long. You know what? I'm going to go do a check about that. So, first, my internet connection is bugging a bit right now. This is the diameter that would result from it. This is the circumference of the Earth in that world in kilometers. So 1,280,965 kilometers. Point, well, that. So it's big, like really big. So yeah, um, like I was saying, he was going for that, and then I just started talking about the size of the Earth again. Like, since I just said it was 32 times bigger, but it's 32 times bigger in when you look at the diameter, so it becomes a lot bigger. So I was saying that where he's going, there's wormhole around the place, but that even if he gets stuck in it, he would breathe underwater thanks to his water dragon slayer magic. And so he went there. When he arrived at the place that he was told had wormhole and some ruins underneath, he didn't see anything, and he was sure that it was the right place. Sorry about that. Um, so looking around a bit, he didn't see anything, any wormhole or whatever. So he started looking in the water, and basically, well, that doesn't go that far. So he basically put his boat in the storage, as well as everything on it, activated Dragon Force for his Water Dragon Slayer, and started going down. As while going down, everything was starting to get dark. Well, it was already night, so because it took time to get there, like, he left in the middle of the day, but they told him it would take about a day and a half to get there in boat. So he arrived in the middle of the night. When arriving there, he basically just tried looking around mostly for a bit. Um, so yeah. So underwater, after seeing that it was way too dark to see anything, he used the light element to make a multiple ball of lights around him, as well as making himself glow a bit. Basically, what he does with the balls of light is sending them further and further down to see how deep it was. And it wasn't that far. Well, it was like 2 or 3 kilometers down. Before he saw that it, well, trying to push but it resisting. So he knew he was about 3 kilometers from the down, from the farthest place. And then he decided to try and augment the glow of it to try and see more of what's around him. Basically, he just sent so much magic in it that it basically lit up the entire ground, and all that Deku was able to see was, well, where it was touching, it was basically just sand and stuff, and all around it seemed to have just some types of rocks or stuff like that coming out of the ground, pointing up, but it seemed weird for him. Because the way the rocks were placed, normally their current would have taken in them and started making the wormhole that were supposed to be in the area. But he doesn't feel any current, so the rocks aren't used, and that's what he finds weird. There's no current around there. Normally in water, when there's no current, it's because it's a dead zone. Like, there's always a small force pushing in the ocean, but right now it's as if there was nothing. As if there was no. As if he was in space, basically. Nothing pushing anything from anywhere. The force of gravity not affecting anything, so not moving. But he was underwater, which it's practically impossible unless it's a place where rocks and other things are basically blocking any current from going there. Most of the time those places has a lot of little fish and stuff like that. But first, there's no life. No plants, no fish, no nothing. As if something just passed through and ate everything. And all the way to the bottom, and everything that is lit up by Deku only has proof that normally current would pass there and make massive wormhole, but he doesn't see anything. So he basically tries to go to the ground and see if anything else is there. Basically, arriving into the light, he decides to send more light ball, send them further about at the edge of the light, and augment them the same way as this one, augmenting the field of view. And it's the same way all the way to every place that he's seeing. No life, no plant, no fish, and there doesn't even seem to be a current. But everything is showing that normally currents would pass around here. The sand is placed in a way that can only be moved by the current or by fish, but none of those two are there. After a bit, he decides to think, what if someone or something placed a wall around the place that was made to basically stop everything from it? Thinking of that, he decided to try and send some light ball as far as he could. And for all he knows, at a certain point, the ball passed past the point where, oh, there's just a circle, where outside of that circle there's life, fish, stuff like that. And some fish enters the circle, leave the circle, and stuff like that without any problems. Deku does see it because he basically just followed one of the ball. But he sees all of that, and it just seems as if when the fish enters, they get scared of something and go out. Not even sharks or other aquatic creatures tries to stay in those places. Basically, it's they enter once and they just leave. Then he just started thinking maybe it's the territory of a monster or something like that. Then he thought that doesn't explain the current. Basically, outside of the circle, water is moving. Quite a lot, in fact. But the moment it arrives to the circle, it basically just disappears, moves up, and then goes back. Well, not goes back, but basically just goes around it. And it's not as if it was trying to make a massive wormhole around that place, it just passes around. As if there was a wall in the way, but there's nothing. He goes back to the. He goes back and tries to look to see more things. Basically, moving a lot of water under sand to see if anything is hidden. He doesn't see anything. And then starts thinking, why do I have the feeling of being watched? And he's not able to think of anything other than that. He just started feeling it, but it was there the whole time. He knows that it was there. He just didn't want to believe it. He was scared of something, even though he was probably strong enough to fight nations by himself. Literally, he destroyed an entire castle, a city, and everything in one attack, and he wasn't even exhausting himself. But he was scared in that moment, and he wasn't able to think about why he would be scared. He knows there's dragon and stuff like that, but he didn't think that anything like that would be around this place. And even if that was the case, what would be strong enough to stop currents in a certain ball? Basically, the diameter of the thing is like over 10 kilometers wide, and he's moving to know that he was basically sending his ball of light and just pushing them lightly up until the moment that they start moving on their own because of current. And he deduced it from that. And he went to the middle and tried to look around, basically illuminating the entire place. Like, this time he didn't just try to illuminate a certain amount of it, he just went all out with it. He used as much as he could to just light up the entire circle, and literally inside all there was sand and rocks. But he couldn't see anything that was alive, and that was making him even more scared because he knows something's around. He can feel it, but there's nothing. At this point, he decided to go back to their surface, which basically he didn't even waste time. He basically just went up as fast as possible. When coming out of the water, he turned his water dragon slay your force, water dragon force off and turned into sky dragon force to basically fly, leaving the ball of light that he left to see from above. And when looking from above, there was a difference. From underneath, the water seemed clear, just, well, almost cleared. But from above, he saw that no, the entire circle where there is light, it is clear. Like if it was just tap water or something you take in a river. Not something that would normally have a lot of sand in it, like the ocean, or a lot of algae. It's the only place like that that he can see, but he doesn't see anything else in it until he sees the sand moving at some place. Because remember, he can see like a dragon, hear like a dragon, and smell like a dragon. So he knows when he's observed, and he can see far. So the sand moving seems as if something big is moving under it, digging, pushing the sand away, but he didn't see it from underwater because every time he was moving the sand as long with him by basically moving water all around him to see if there was something under the sand. So whatever it was could move as it pleased while he was doing that. And he tried to think of anything that he saw that had that size. Because while it was moving, it looked like it was able to go around the entire circle about 4 or 5 times with his length, but was extremely wide in some places. And then he remembered a specific type of water serpent that were called, well, that had the nickname Dragon Killer. Those types of serpents hunted young dragons, and basically the biggest size that they were recorded at was about half what he was, well, less than half what he was seeing in that place. And the way those serpents worked was basically they stayed in groups of about 4 to 6. And this one seemed to be alone, which wasn't working out. They always stay in group, not because they're scared of other things, because that's the way they are, the way they act. What they do is hunt in pairs. They always have a group of four, so that there's at least or more to have at least two people in the same group, so that from one side they scare something or catch the attention of something, and from the other side one attack. But if there was one underwater that was attracting his attention, but that nothing else was around him, where were the other ones? And why was this one underground? They were known to dig, but only partially. So where's the head? He sees where it is, but that's the only part of their body they keep partially overground, just enough so that they can see over it, but this one is completely covered. And I just realized I probably spent like 5 or 6 minutes just talking about what he was scared of. But yeah, this video is going to be a lot longer than the other part for this. Because like I said, one part is going to be one life that he makes himself, no matter how long it is. And this one might take a good 2 hours probably even more. And so yeah, after looking basically at it moving around as if it was looking for him, since basically everything that was moving, everything that he was making for water movement basically just disappeared, and the sand was basically moving around as if it was looking for him. So he decided to try something. He, he made one of his light ball move around extremely fast. They don't have mass, but they can still be moved by wind, water current, and stuff like that, but they do not make one. So he only tries to see if it's looking for him with its eyes, or if it's following movements, or feeling the vibration in water. And movement and light doesn't seem to attract him. He thinks about it and decides to try something else. He basically goes down in the water, well, close to the water, and with his water dragon slayer, basically, no, I mean sky dragon slayer, he basically sends a wind slash in the water, basically touching the ground near where it was, not on it, to try to not make it angry, since the biggest one that was recorded in a book that he saw was basically saying that he was able to take down about adolescent dragon, which aren't as big as adult dragon, but Deku knows that he's probably weaker than a dragon. So that thing might be, and that thing's 2 times bigger than what they normally see, and their strength doesn't just increase with the size that they have normally. They don't. If a baby is like capable, well, if a small one is capable of killing a kid dragon, and that after 2 years he can kill a adolescent dragon, when normally the way they grow is basically. Literally, right now, I'm just talking about that one specific beast, because actually, it will come in a lot later in this story. Well, in this part. Basically, what's. So, yeah. like I was saying, the bigger they are, not just the stronger they are. Like, if it grew by, if there's one in front of another one that's 2 times its size, it's not 2 times stronger. It's a lot more than that. So if that thing is 2 times bigger than the biggest one recorded, and that it could almost and kill, and that it could kill adolescent dragon, that one is easily capable of killing adult dragons. And so he's just looking at what it does and try not to make it angry because he doesn't want to die again. When he sent the wind blade, it basically tried to attack. Like, this time it wanted to attack. He took his head out of the ground, and the thing was a bit bigger than what he thought. And he was like, oh, he's even deeper than what I thought. Because he saw the amount of sand that the beast threw up, and that meant it was deeper than just right under a layer of sand. A lot deeper than that, so it can be a lot bigger than what he's thinking even right now. He wants to know where the ruins are, because those beasts aren't known to destroy stone. What they're known for is just dig underground and kill dragon while underwater. So he's just thinking, why would that beast be there? And how would it be able to stop currents? Most of the time they hunt by looking at stuff, and the current actually helps them get food to eat when they're not hunting dragons, by just kind of absorbing water through their mouth and letting small fishes be absorbed in that. So if there's no current, what is it doing? Which is the moment where he realized something. The only time they are alone is when it is a female and it's laying eggs, or caring for the eggs, or waiting because the eggs hatched and the babies are basically feeding. And by feeding, I mean like the species goes underground while they are with their babies, and basically after eating something they digest it, and then from their body, like from their scales, they basically start producing a small of, well, a kind of grease that just kind of stick around them for the babies to just eat. So if it's completely underground and only showing its head when trying to eat something, that means there's babies under there and that it is dangerous. Because if you hurt one of the babies, the mother goes apeshit. The problem is, when coming back up, he just realized that he dropped his sword. You remember the sword the special weapon he made for himself that basically can heat the blade extremely hot, that can change its weight, and that he always keeps on him? He dropped it, and it's right next to her. So, a sword unique that he really doesn't want to lose, next to a mother that's trying to get food to feed her youngs, and that if there's any disturbance in the water, will probably eat you, mostly since he annoyed her by sending something that could have harmed her or the babies. He knows ruins have to be there, since it is said that they are in the area, a bit underground, but that there's at least something that's kind of poking out so that you can see it. And then he just thinks, if something's coming out, kind of say it's right there, and that the thing is basically just wrapped in a big circle, it's probably in the middle of that. But now he has to recover his sword and get into that building, trying to not be killed by something that can probably rip him to shred in a second if it catches him. So, what he decides to do is to try and change where the dead zone is. See if the mother will follow it or if she is actually the thing that keeps the dead zone there. Which, after trying, he basically sees that first, it's not moving. Second, while trying to push it, the mother doesn't even seem to react, as if it's not her. So, if you're able to guess, no, it's not her that's moving it, well, making it. With some of the spells he learned, he basically decided to try and, by going outside where there's current, basically he's leaving the ball of light in the same place without moving it, to basically have a clear vision of where it is. He tries to find, well, he basically sees a lot of shark and decides to try and send one of the shark in it, even though it will probably not be able to do it. So he tries to send it in, and the shark doesn't want to. Izuku decides that, look, I really need that sword and I need to find where the freaking place is, and basically just send a massive blast of air from his body and just pushes the shark in the place away from the sword, with the giant snake basically trying to get to it. Since it is bigger than Izuku, he's thinking, okay, I should be safe until it catches it. And he basically zooms as fast as he can all the way to his sword. He grabs it, and start going straight for the middle, when he realized that the snake basically started going towards him. He is scared. He basically stops going for the ground and tries to go up. The snake starts coming closer to him, basically going a lot faster than him, and he's not getting close enough to out of the water. And at some point, basically he looks behind him and it stopped. It came out of the earth for about 1.5 kilometers, and it is completely out of it, since normally they're like, well, what he was looking at from above was about 3/4 of a kilometer, so 750 meters, which is extremely big. Like I said, normally they're only about half that. Well, less than half that. Normally they're like 300 meters max, and that one's like a lot bigger. So basically what he's thinking is literally, why did it stop following me? If it wanted to eat me, it could have continued. He didn't try to stay there and basically got out of the water and continued looking at it. The snake basically stopped, started turning around, and started going back to the ground. And that's when he basically just saw that there's a big, well, how can I explain this? Well, I'm looking at it, but, well, what is written is basically just a big, well, hole kind of on the side of it, about in the two-thirds of the way from the head to the tail. There's kind of like a hole in it. And just looking at it, he sees that it doesn't seem to bother it, but just from that, it does look like it's just trying to heal and feed itself. Which he thinks would explain why there's no more plants or anything else there, since normally they don't eat plants unless they absolutely need to. Also, he thinks that would explain why when it came out of the ground there wasn't a lot of babies coming after it, since normally they're literally stuck on the mother. So now he can rule that possibility out. And finally he thinks, wait, those things can kill dragons. That one can probably kill adult dragons for breakfast if he wanted to. Like, it's not even awake yet, and it just killed a dragon for fun. But there's a hole in it. Something powerful passed next to it and hurt it. He doesn't know what it is. All he knows is that this thing is stronger than him, and that if there's something else stronger than that thing, he's in trouble. So, he decided that he wanted to keep going there, but decided to go on an island that wasn't far from there. He didn't know if the people on the island would be okay with him, or if they even knew about the serpent. When he arrived there, it was basically now around just before the sun came up. Arriving there, basically he went back on his boat once he got out of the zone. He took off his light and stuff. And when he was starting to arrive there were basically people that kind of came out of a building, well, a house, running because, well, he was basically coming from the exact place where there was a giant freaking snake. Which, when he arrived, they basically asked him, "Where'd you pass to get here? Normally nobody can pass by that way." Which he asked, "Well, I was looking for the ruins where there was wormholes around, wormholes. They said, yeah, well, you're not going to find wormholes now. There's something in that water that's basically killing everything. With Izuku saying, yeah, I saw that. They said, what, you said a giant snake? How'd you do that? Which he said, well, kind of swimming. They basically looked at him and said, are you freaking serious? How the hell did you survive that? That thing's bigger than any other water snake that we've ever seen. Then one of the people basically saying, and I can relate to that. Before that one, I was the one who saw the biggest one, 320 meters. Nothing bigger, and it didn't even seem to be able to hold his own weight. But that one, it's even bigger than that. Which Izuku said, yeah, about 755 meters in total. Which they basically looked at him and said, you saw him completely? Whoa. Which he basically says, yeah. I dropped my sword in the water while I was passing over there, thinking that there would be wormhole at first. So I kind of just started looking underwater with my head. Well, basically I just went swimming. Basically asking, wait, you went swimming in that place? How the hell did you get low enough to basically drop your sword and basically looking at his waist, seeing that he's had it, and asking how the hell did you get down there without it killing you, and how the hell did you get back up without it killing you? With Izuku saying that going down was easy, it didn't even seem to be bothered by him. When he came up the first time, it didn't even move yet. When they said, yet. Which he then said, well, yeah, I kind of checked the entire area. There's literally a dead zone around it, and I wasn't seeing anything moving at first because I was while I was underwater, even with the light that I was creating, which they said, wait, if you made light, it should have killed you automatically. Which Izuku said, no, it seems to be blind fully. Which they said, so it knows with the vibration in the water. Well, basically that's a lot later, but because after he said that he saw it completely, they decided to bring basically the entire council, town, and whatever, everyone that basically knows about it and that are trying to do something about what's happening there. So everyone was there, and he basically explained that he saw it, that at first he thought that it was way too big to be one. Then they asked him how he was able to stay underwater long enough to even go that far down, with him saying that hey, sorry about that. Basically with Izuku saying that that he has light, water, wind, and earth magic. Basically not saying everything, but saying all of those. Basically them saying that it's rare to have that many from one person, which he says, yeah, I know. Well, I'm a half elf, and I was going for the ruins actually, trying to find them, which They basically just told him, "Are you crazy? That place normally is full of wormhole. How do you even want to pass? How would you even have passed that?" Which he says, "Well, basically I don't need, I can breathe underwater thanks to one of my water spell. So it's kind of easy." Which they basically accepted, since he is the only person that's been able to see it and survive, kind of. Then they asked about the appearance, which he said the exact size of it. Then after that, repeating that it was basically blind, like he said. And that lastly, there were marks on it that seemed to be kind of fresh. Someone then asked, "Wait, you mean something hurted that?" Which he said, "Not just hurt, it put a hole in it." Which basically everyone kind of went a bit silent, because literally something that can probably kill dragons super easily was hurt and had a hole in it. So something stronger than that exists. Basically what they were scared of at this point was just, how do we actually do anything to get rid of it? Because most people just thought, okay, it must have babies or something like that. Basically asking Izuku, telling that to Izuku, with him saying that no, there wasn't. All that it was a giant snake that was hurt and literally was eating everything it could just to survive, I guess. Which they then asked, okay, so why didn't it attack you at first? Which he basically just responded, "I don't even have any idea about that." And then just thought, wait, the first time I went into the water, I had Sky Dragon Force. When I came out, I took it off. Then when I get back in, I just made an air bubble to make me breathe underwater. And then just thought, was my water dragon slayer power making it scared of me? Which, yes, is actually the reason. But not because it was scared, just that for some reason it wasn't feeling him while he was in that. It was moving around while he was moving around, but not because of the vibration he was emitting, just because of the magic. That thing can kill dragons, but he was scared of a water dragon. So, at the end of them talking, basically, it was like, so, what do we do to stop it? We have to kill it. Basically, none of their species was ever that big, and we already are supposed to kill them when we find something as about half the size of that. Which Izuku basically just said, yeah, that's the entire problem. I don't even think I could kill that. Which they said, not even you? What do you mean by that? Which he basically tells that he is, for the first time he says to someone the level he has since he left the First Kingdom. I'm on level 560. My strength is through the roof. And even I'm scared of that thing. I had chills all the way that all the time while being close to that. So, no matter what it was that gave him that hole, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to beat it. At least not now. Which the chief basically, since this isn't a big island, it's like it has a small forest, stuff like that, but it's basically just about a kilometer in diameter, which is big, but you can basically, if you have a clear path, see all the way through the island. So, basically, it's the chief of the island, it's not a kingdom or anything like that. And he's basically saying that this is the only moment they're going to have to try and fight it, since, well, literally, you don't have a better chance that when there's a freaking hole on the side of it. It's weekend right now. So, Izuku still doesn't know about him being when he's in Water Dragon Force, that it basically takes off its capacity to feel him. So, well, he will not know for a bit. He is intelligent, but he still has some problem. So, in the end, literally, what they decided to do was try and find as much magic people possible, magic casters and stuff like that, to try and do a god spell. If you remember from the second part, it is the type of spell that is created by multiple people by using a lot of magic. Or you can also call them dark spell. Well, there are in-god spells, which can change the laws of reality itself. There's the the god spells and the dark magic spells, which the god spells are basically just you need a lot of people and a lot of magic to do whatever spells you want to do, and then there's some consequences. Dark magic spells that come from that basically only requires one person, and all it requires is a lot of death. They're not going to do that one. They're going to do the good one. But basically what they want to do is try to create, well, they basically go with a lot of boats. Basically there's like 200 or 300 people on the island. Each of them has at least a small amount of magic, with a group of them basically being trained to just have a lot of magic in them. So they basically just go on a circle around the entire place, and what they're trying to do is to destroy, well, to use a god spell to or destroy sorry, or destroy the snake, or basically change its size, shape, or whatever to make it easier to kill. Basically, a god spell doesn't take the idea of the most people, it takes the thing that wants to be done by the one that gives the most magic doing it. Izuku. So, what he wishes for, basically, when doing that, is I want. Basically, all he's thinking about is I want to know why it's there and what the hell hurt it, as well as to kill it. And basically, what happened was that basically, first, um, it's well, Izuku had enough magic, if you count everyone else in the town, to basically make it go, well, to basically do it twice. The first time the god spell was used, it was passed through everyone, but only his magic was used, which made the first wish happen, which was what the hell happened to it and what the hell was it that hurt it, which what he saw when wanting that wish to be done was basically everything that happened to the monster. Basically, just what happened to it was that he fought against another one that was roughly the same size. It killed the other one, but the other one still took a massive bite out of that one. So it was like, oh, there were two like that. And the other one died. The second one basically took the magic of everyone this time, because you just need enough magic and enough people to do the god spell. So deku was the magic for the first one, and everyone, well, the people. The second one, his magic was almost not even used, using everyone else's, and killed the thing. After killing it, basically, Izuku decided to go and examine the entire body. So, well, everyone wanted to basically go fish it out of there and bring it back to the island because it is still food for them. Since you do take everything you can. So Izuku basically told them he would do it. And after it died, they basically felt the current change a little, but something felt wrong for Izuku. Everyone just thought, okay, yeah, it's the thing that's basically stopping the currents. But when it died, Izuku felt as if the currents were basically being pushed back more. Which he basically told them that he was going to go grab the snake and bring it to the island. Which everyone was basically happy by that. Since, well, they had the boat, but it was a lot bigger than any other snakes, and they basically needed the amount of boat they have right now for a snake smaller than the biggest size they had seen before that one. So Izuku basically went underwater in Water Dragon Force and basically started digging to find it. When he found it, he basically started dragging it out of the circle and towards the island. Even underwater, it was freaking huge and it weighed a lot. Like, there was way more weight than what he thought there would be. So, basically, what was happening was that Deku was trying to bring it completely. He got exhausted after a bit and decided to check the body. And while looking at it, he felt weird by it because, yes, he saw every mark and knew where they came from now, but he still felt wrong about it, as if there was something missing, and he wasn't knowing what. And then he remembered why he got there. The ruins. He dug the whole snake out of there and there wasn't anything. So what was, well, where are the ruins? When he got the snake to shore, basically everyone was already waiting for Izuku. He finished dragging it, well, they helped him drag the rest up, basically with contraptions. Um, when all of it was over, all of them were, well, happy because, yeah, they're going to have food for a really long amount of time. Um, but then they saw that Izuku seemed weird a bit. They asked him what was happening, and he said about the ruins that even after he dug the whole thing up, he didn't see any of them. Which even they were surprised by that. So basically, someone with wind magic told Izuku that the next day he was going to go there with him. So basically, telling him that with both of their wind magic and his earth magic, they should be able to dig up the entire place a lot more, which they wasn't against, since it would be easier then for him. So, after a bit, well, the next day, they ate, and both of them went out to sea. While there, Izuku saw something about 50 meters further from where the circle ended the day before. There was the circle. It augmented, which the guy basically asked Deku what he meant by that, and Izuku told him that he checked the entire circle. He knew the exact diameter of it, and it's too big now. There's a problem. It's getting bigger. So both of them decided to get in the water as fast as possible to find out what's happening. They go down, like really far down, all the way to the bottom. And both of them basically, using wind magic, started separating, basically threw it in the ground and basically made a massive hole, basically pushing all of the sand they're trying to get, out of the way, pushing it out of the circle, digging the entire thing. Rocks that were basically just holding on top of the sand because of compressed sand under basically started falling down and then being pushed. But there was one thing that wasn't moving. A single rock that was different from the others. But Izuku wasn't thinking much of it every other time. But this time he saw it. And he saw it right. That one. It is the only one that doesn't seem to have been made by the water currents. It seemed to have been man-made. He never looked at it before like that, but it's not a normal one. So both of them started concentrating the wind exactly in that place, digging further and further down, all the way up until at some point it started to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, all the way up till they basically see that it's some type of pyramid, with the top just being a long spike that was about 40 to 50 meters long, extremely long. Which Deku decided to think rationally and say, if the spike is that big, how big is the um, pyramid itself? Then he just thought, wait, those are the ruins. Like, just, he wasn't thinking about it at all for a bit. Then saying, well, we found the ruins now, but it's still problematic. That's basically the guy saying it, because compared to Izuku that can breathe once his air bubble leaves, the guy needs air. Which they basically decided to go back to the surface, take bigger balls of air, and go back down. Basically enough air to last about an hour or something. Hoping that it's enough. And started going inside. While inside, Deku was basically looking at everything around him, and he never saw any of those marks. Any of the writings was totally new to him. From anything he read, or anything in general. The guy was basically thinking the same exact way. The guy told Izuku that it would be probable that it's going to be problematic if you wanted to find stuff about that. Which Izuku said, oh, I'm going to remember everything of it as long as I look at it once. So the guy said, okay, so as long as you're able to see everything in here once, you're going to remember everything. Which Deku basically says, yeah. So the guy told him that they're going to have to move fast. Sorry about that. So yeah, the guy said to Deku that they're going to have to move fast then. And started to try and look at everything that he could. While looking at everything, Izuku was basically looking at some of the stuff, and at some point he looked at one thing specifically. There was a big wall with multiple kind of pictures on them. Well, them, whatever, multiple walls with a lot of pictures. And one in particular was weird for him. He already saw that picture once before. And it wasn't in this. It wasn't the picture that he saw was basically from the last memory he remembered from this world before his town. Well, before having his memory brought back from his last world. The people who attacked him, they had the exact same picture on on them. A simple mark, but it was too specific and identical to be just a coincidence. So he started looking at everything and was just saying it's weird. With the guy basically not knowing about that, but saying, yeah, some of those things basically look like history or stuff that have, well, basically look like stuff that happened thousands of years ago. But why? They continue going, and basically they just think, okay, until half of it is passed, well, half of the thing is done completely, to just basically, well, half of the air that they have, that they just go everywhere they can. At a specific, well, at some point they arrive to a room where there's a chest in the middle. But, but the way the chest is made is basically waterproof. Which Izuku knows that. When the guy goes to open it, Izuku says, "No, let's not open it here. Let's let's open it back when we arrive on shores." Which the guy tells him, "Good idea, but how do we bring it?" Which Izuku basically having normal storage and a spell that lets him store a certain amount of matter in it. He basically opens the, well, kind of portal that you can basically, well, that you basically just put it over or under whatever you want to um, put in it and then just pass it over it. He basically did that, and the guy said, "Oh, that's a good spell to have." Which Izuku said, "Yeah, yeah." The moment I saw it, I tried to learn it. Then the guy asked how much he has left in it, and Izuku said that if he wanted to, he could probably take like 4 or 5 more of those. So they continued looking for everything, and basically over time, they looked at everything, and some of the, well, Izuku remembering every mark on the wall. Every time they found something that was kind of precious, they put it in a simple bag that can hold it. They found like 2 or 3 more chests that were different. And then finally, at the end, just before they arrived to the half point of their air supply, they arrive in a big room. In that room, they see something on the wall that doesn't feel right. And Izuku automatically knows what it is and basically tells the guy, "We have to get back." With the guy not telling him why. With Izuku saying, "There's something alive on the wall. And we're almost out of oxygen. We should go." Which the guy basically saw how Izuku was scared and basically decided that, okay, yeah, we get the hell out of there. So Izuku made a mental note of the entire labyrinth. So they go out, they go back up, then leave to the village. And Izuku remembers every bit of things that he saw or that happened in there. Mostly what he saw on the wall in the last room. What it was simply, well, what it was multiple, and when I say multiple, I mean a massive amount of small animals that weren't fish, and he never saw them in any books or anything like that, but he saw them on the wall. And what he saw on the wall when he saw those types of beasts being was that things was basically a big monster, one of those, well, a small group of those being close to it, then just them going on the other side, and whatever was in the middle of, well, in front of them on the previous picture was basically just bones. So that means that those little things or have the capacity to kill those, or have the capacity to outlive them. And he doesn't want to know what they can do to a normal human, or to anyone for that matters, and decided to just keep in mind where that thing was. So, they opened the treasure chests, and what was in those were basically, for two of them, they were just jewelry, gold, stuff like that. One of the other two was, well, the only thing in that one was, well, one thing, and it looked like an egg. The problem that is that it was broken and seemed to be made of some type of metal that was extremely durable. As if the egg, well, the shell of the egg was kept because it was extremely rare, or something like that. In the two last ones, there were books. Izuku looked at the books, and basically they were written in the exact same language. But, yeah, didn't know how to read it. So he kept them with him. Everyone in the village basically asked them what was in the ruins, because, well, they surely did find something. So they basically told them how they found it. Um, oh yeah, as well, I forgot to say that when they came out of the ruins, the current was back to normal. And by to normal, I mean the circle where there was no current, no plants, no fish, no anything. Fishes were starting to come back to it. Currents was around him, well, around that place again. Plants were there yet because, well, they completely got decimated before that. So yeah. So um, in the end, basically, Izuku just said that there's something in those ruins. Everything that he was able to see, he basically has them in memory. But, well, the monsters, well, the beast he saw in the end, he doesn't know what they are, and he doesn't want to know it either, for now. He wants to get stronger before getting to that place. And basically, he didn't gain any level in this one. Because, well, the only thing that he killed was basically a shark. And when killing the giant serpent, they used a god spell. Anything that is killed with that, basically the XP that you would gain from it is basically given to the spell to kind of nullify the drawback from it. So with the amount of XP that was in it, basically nobody got anything except got sick a bit or lost their magic for a certain amount of time. Like for some amount of week they're not going to get magic, and that's basically only that. Izuku didn't get any backlash for both of the things for some reason that he doesn't get why. Everyone think only one spell was used, but there were two. And people were just extremely lucky for the second one. Basically, the first one, only Izuku would have been hurt because it was only his magic that was used. But yeah. So after getting all of the things that he got there, he basically went back to where the temple was and saw that after clearing all of the rocks and stuff like that, there was only one wormhole now because of the way the water goes around the temple. So after seeing that, he basically decided that yeah, it was good. And basically just kind of used earth magic to basically try and make bigger wormholes around the entire place so that nobody would try and get in the place. So with earth magic, he basically made it so that there's too much wormholes. Then he left that place. So, if you... Well, this is the end of the episode, the part. I have three things to say. First, Izuku keeps the books that he found in some of the in two of the treasure chests. For the eggshells, he kept them as well because he doesn't know why, but he felt something coming from them. And he didn't want to leave them on the island because if it was attracting something, it would be dangerous for those people. So he kept it with them. He kept them with him. Lastly, well, not lastly, but now, Mizuku basically is only thinking of finding out more about, well, the writing on the wall, and tried to remember where, because he basically saw multiple maps that weren't from the whole world, but he remembers that on one of the maps, there was a place where a lot of archaeologists and stuff, other people like that, basically live, because the entire city is basically just in massive ruins. So they have work as much as they want in that place. So he decided to go there with all the knowledge that he has and all of the memories of every places that was in there that he had as well. So yeah, hope to like it, liked it. Oh yeah, one final thing. The reason I spent a lot of time describing the snake is because later in the story, like a lot later, they're going to come back. And yeah, it's going to be something. So, hope you liked it. I had fun doing it. This one is a lot longer than most. But yeah, For this series, I might at some point have a 2-hour video, if not 3 for some point, because for one of the parts that I have, it is long. I talked to someone about it, so yeah. Hope you liked it. Natsu, out. Yeah, Natsu, out.